So, as the topic says, the power of time. This is one thing that I have been deeply influenced and impacted with this topic of time, and I wish to share about this particular topic to with everyone because time is one factor that not just influences somebody in particular, but equally to everyone. So we will be reading and we will be discussing something from Srimad Bhagavatam on this topic. And as we read and as we discuss, we will be specifically talking about certain aspects of time and how can we really deal with it. So when we talk about time, Bhagavatam has time and again spoken about this topic and time and again briefed us on how to deal with it. So we are now moving into the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Vidur is visiting his brother Dhritarashtra. So, as we all know, by now Mahabharat has come to an end, and as Mahabharat has come to an end, that means all the Kauravas, the sons of Dhritarashtra and mother Gandhari, they have been killed by whom? By the Pandavas, and they've been killed. But despite of them being killed by Kauravas, Gandhari and Dhritarashtra, they both are staying in the palace of Yudhishthira. So, in short, in the palace of the killers of their sons. So now Vidur has been away, but he has decided to pay a revisit to his dear brother Dhritarashtra, whom he thinks is not just physically blind, but he is also spiritually and mentally blind. Why does he think so? So Dhritarashtra, Vidur happens to be the topmost well-wisher of Dhritarashtra. Again and again, at each point of his life, Vidur has been the one who's tried to guide Dhritarashtra in all the correct ways. But irrespective, he has been the prime villain of Mahabharat. Had it been not for his desires and not for his all of what he'd aspired for, his aspirations, Mahabharat would not have taken place. So every time Vidur or Bhishma Pitama or anyone of his like would tell anything to Dhritarashtra or guide him in any way, direct him in any way, the bottom line of everything would be just that I am helpless. My sons don't just listen to me. I can't do anything about it. But actually, it is not that Dhritarashtra was the one who was helpless. He could have done many things in many way, which he did not do. So now Vidur has returned, and Yudhishthir, being the king of the of the palace of the Rajya, he's very glad to receive him. And uh, what does he say? He thinks that now that Vidur has returned, everything in the palace, everything in his province will be very very auspicious. So he greets him by saying, "Bhavat vidha bhavatas tirtha bhuta swayam vivo tirthi kurvanti tirthani swantasthena gadabhrita." We would have heard this slok many a times where we compare tirthi kurvanti tirthani, where we compare the presence of a devotee to a holy place. So what does Yudhishthira actually say? He says that now that you are here, all the holy place have also descended with you. So it might sound a bit absurd to compare a person to a place. We cannot really compare a person to a place, but many a times we do see that a person carries the aura of a place with himself, isn't it? When we being in wherever you are, New Jersey or US or any part of US. Like we are in Delhi, so whenever we meet or maybe somebody from Tamil Nadu or somebody from Punjab or somebody from Gujarat, we often think that, oh, we've got a flavor, we've got a taste of the place from this of the place from where does this person belong to. So similarly, Yudhishthir also says the same thing. So whenever a pure devotee of the Lord go, the places become holy themselves. You don't need to really make them a tirth. They become tirth themselves. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani. He can, the devotee, the pure devotee of the Lord can make an ordinary place into a holy place by making everyone a devotee of the Lord. So, how does a pure devotee of the Lord make everyone a pure devotee of the Lord instantly? So, what does a pure devotee of the Lord do? A pure devotee of the Lord, wherever he is, wherever he goes, what does he do? He only talks about Krishna. He only talks about maybe the services that he's involved in, maybe the places that he's visited in the past, maybe the scriptures that he's read. So everything about his personality, everything about his aura would be about Krishna consciousness. So that's why, how does he do it? Swanta sthena gadabhrita. Why does he and how does he do it? Because he has the Lord situated in his heart. Swanta sthena gadabhrita. He has Lord situated in his heart. Wherever he goes, he talks about only the Lord. So now Vidur has come with an agenda. He is not just returned to the palace for no purpose. He's come back to the palace. He's come back to the province of Yudhishthir with a purpose. And what is that purpose? The purpose is primarily to reform his brother Dhritarashtra, again, who is not just physically blind by birth, but who's also blinded by his attachment, who's also blinded by his aspirations, and who's also blinded by something which we say lack of knowledge, right? So that's what he's come here for. So after coming, he has a conversation with Dhritarashtra, and to start with, what does he tell Dhritarashtra? एवं गृहेषु सक्तानां प्रमतानां तदीयः आत्यक्रमाद अविज्ञात काल परमा दुष्टरः. So, what is he trying to say? He's saying that you are you are imperceptibly overcome by time. You are imperceptibly overcome by the family affairs, and you are always engrossed in their thoughts. Now that you are getting old, and you did unfair with Pandavas, you did a lot unfair with Pandavas for so many years, and your greatest mistake was eham evam griheshu saktanam, your asakti, your attachment to your griheshu, your attachment with the worldly affairs was your greatest mistake. Now that you are blinded towards truth and justice, so much so that you cannot see what is right and what is wrong, and what you only know is your own self, your own sons, and your own household. So what should you do? What you have become, pramatanam tadiyaha, you have become mad in your attachment, because of which you have become very very strong. Your one very strong power has entered in your life. Because of your attachment, a very strong energy, a very strong power has entered in your life, but you are unable to see it. Who is saying this? Vidur is telling this to Dhritarashtra. Because time and again you've been attached with your worldly affairs, you've been attached to your griheshu, evam griheshu saktanam. What have you become? Pramat, you have become insane. Pramattanam tadiya. So because of which a very very strong energy has entered in your life, and you are unable to see that energy. You're unable to see that energy even though it is very strong. Atyakramad avigyat, that power or that energy is avigyat. So what is the nature of this energy? This energy is avigyat. It's avigyat. You don't realize where did it come from? You don't realize how does it impact you, but every moment it is impacted you. It is such an energy that you don't see, you don't feel its impact. And what is this energy? Kala paramah dushtaraha. Kal, time, is that energy which has impacted you each and every moment, irrespective of the fact that you haven't been able to feel it, you haven't been able to see it. And that is why it is called Paramadushtaraha. Paramadushtaraha means very difficult, or very almost impossible to win over. Nobody. Dushtaraha means winning over something, and Paramadushtaraha means it's impossible to win over this Kal. Paramadushtaraha, Kalah, Paramadushtaraha. So Dhritarashtra is saying that Kal, Vidur is saying that Dhritarashtra, Kal is killing you. It is slowly destroying you. But it's again a Vigyat. Just how every day we know that our nails are growing, isn't it? Our hair, our nails, they are growing. We don't see them grow really, but after 3 days or 4 days or a week, when we notice, oh, they've grown back again. Do we really see them grow? No, we don't really see them grow. Do we see our hair grow? No, we don't see our hair grow. But are they growing? Yes, our hair, our nails, all of we our the whole body in entirety, it's growing. So this is the impact of car. This is one example. So we often when we meet somebody after many years, we often tell them, oh, you were just a child, kal tak to aap chote se bacche the, aaj itne bade kaise ho gaye. So we often keep telling people that how time keeps impacting them, time keeps impacting them. Whenever we see a river flowing, we see that, oh, how beautifully and how similar the flow is, how similar the color of the water is. But actually every moment the molecule of the water is changing. So time keeps impacting everything. So it's a very famous it's a it's not a quote, it's a very famous Hindi शायरी, I would say. So वक्त ये कैसी पहेली दे गया, उलझने को जिंदगी और सुलझने को उम्र दे गया. So time is something which presents us with a lot of opportunities. It either presents us with opportunities, or it presents us with missed opportunities. We either have opportunities to understand time, or we either have opportunities to lose out on it as much as we want to. So our entire life is just spent in understanding this. So if I ask you at this moment, what is the exact time, in seconds also, oh, can anybody just tell me what is the exact time? What is the exact time?
8:51 p.m. EST.
Sorry.
8:51 p.m. EST.
8:51 p.m. EST. But if you would just see in seconds also, it would be something more. And if I ask you if that is the same time right now, no, that second would have passed. So every second when we talk, as we are talking, our time is flying by. The time is flying by. The time does not remain the same. No one can ever tell you what is the exact time, because it is again changing every second. So time is something we cannot catch. Time is something we cannot percept, we cannot understand, and it doesn't come in your hand. It We cannot see time, but it shows us a lot, isn't it? Time is very powerful. So when we talk about the nature of time, so this is the first aspect that Vidur is explaining to Dhritarashtra. What is the first aspect of time that Vidur is explaining? Avigyat. You cannot understand it, you cannot realize its impact, but it is very strong, and it is very powerful. So as much as we become serious towards understanding the impact of time, then only we will be able to realize and make some difference in our life. Otherwise it is, just gone. It is avigyat. So time does not give us as much time to to take time to understand time. So that's how it works. So Shankaracharya also very famously quotes, what does he say? Angam galitam palitam mundam dashana vihinam jatam tundam vriddho yati grihita dandam tadapi namunchate asha pindam. So what is Shankaracharya saying? That angam galitam, ang, the body, the limbs of a man, what is happening? They are getting weak, they are getting rotten. गल रहे हैं, जो हमारी बॉडी के हर अंग है वो गल रहा है, they are getting weakened. Palitam mundan, the head, the hair on the head of a man, they are all falling off. The mouth has become toothless. Dashana vihinam jatam tundam. The mouth has become toothless. But despite of all these changes, why are these changes coming? Vriddho yati grihita pundam. The a man is becoming vriddh, a man is becoming old. And what has happened? He's now walking with a stick. He is walking with a stick, grihitva dandam. And despite of all of these things, the body is rotting, the hair is coming off, and the man is now walking with a stick, the mouth has become toothless. Despite of everything, now what is happening? Tadapi na munchate asha pindam. इतने सब चीजें होने के बाद भी, अब डिस्पाइट ऑफ ऑल दीज चेंजेस दैट अ पर्सन इज अंडरगोइंग, व्हाट हैपेंस? आशा. आशा is something that doesn't die. आशा पिंडम. Till when does one's desires they don't die? जब तक किसी का पिंड दान नहीं हो जाता. If you are able to understand what I'm saying. So when a person dies, after his death, the family of the death of the dead person, or the sons of the dead person, what do they do? They do a pinddan for them. And till that point, the desires or the aspirations of a man, they do not come to an end. Such are aspiration. That's why it said आश और काश के बीच में जीवन पूरा खत्म हो जाता है. The desires that we have and the regrets that we keep in our heart, in between both of these things, our whole life is just flying by, is just flying by. So Shankaracharya, this is actually from Bhaja Govindam by Shankaracharya, and it's a very very beautiful quote. If we, but mostly people of my age or even younger, like Ananga Mohini Mataji, younger ones, they might not be able to relate to it because Angam Galitam Talitam Pundam, no, not happening right now, so we're not able to relate. But if you actually think of it, if you actually think of it, when somebody reaches the midlife crisis, somewhere where I am, so if you realize that each second of your life, when it passes by, you think, oh my god, every year now again new year, again new year. Now by the time of this year, by this time of the year, it's September, October, and now we say, my god, again after 3 months, 4 months, it'll be new year once again. So when we are very young, when we are kids, we can't wait to grow up. We can't wait to live that adult life, live that independent life. But when we're actually adulting, we want to go back to time. We want to go back in time and just want to have that reversal and just want to again live that carefree life, right? So Vidur has decoded it. Vidur has understood everything about life. So one quality, what he's already told, that it is a vikyat. You cannot understand its impact. You cannot see where it's coming from. You cannot see where it's going. So now again in the next verse, he reveals another aspect of time, another quality of time. So what is he saying? Vidurastad abhipretya drishtaram avashtata rajan nirgamyat sigram pashyedam bhagam abhagam. So what does he say? How is he? How is he calling Dhritarashtra? He's greeting and calling Dhritarashtra as Rajan. Rajan. Even though at that point of time, Who was the king of the province? Who was the king of the palace? It was Yudhishthira. But still, how is Vidur uh, calling off Dhritarashtra? He's calling him as Rajan. He's saying that despite of being the king, you have not been able to decode this most important aspect of your life. You have understood, you say that you've understood everything. A king knows, a king does no wrong, and a king knows everything. So despite of being the king for so many years, you feel that, you think that you know everything, but this one aspect of your life you haven't been able to decode. So what is he saying? विदुरस्तद अभिप्रेतया दृष्टा धृतराष्ट्रम अभाषिता राजन निर्गम्यताम शीघ्रम निर्गम्यताम शीघ्रम. What should you do? You should shigra, very quickly, you should leave this house. You should leave this palace, you should leave this house. You are such a great king, but what should you do? You should first look at yourself in the mirror. Why is Vidur asking Dhritarashtra to look at himself in the mirror? Pashyetam bhayam agat. So that he's able to see the fear on his face. Bhayam. Your face is now filled with fear. Your face is now covered with fear, and all that I can see on your face is just fear. So, this is the second aspect of time, that it creates fear in one's heart, it creates fear in one's life if we are not alert. So when I say that every second, every year, every month we feel, oh my god, time is passing by so fast. So what is that comes in our heart is that we are getting scared, we are fearful that what will happen next. So that why does that fear creeps in? Why does this feeling creeps in? Because we haven't been alert, we haven't been alert. If we don't utilize time now as we grow old, then our insecurity and fear, it only increases. Our anxiety, it only increases. So Dhritarashtra would have asked Vidur, so like always, every time Vidur would give any instruction, every time would give Vidur any direction to Dhritarashtra. By the end, he would just very meekly ask Vidur, what should I do now? Even though he would never follow what Vidur would ask him to follow, what Vidur would ask him to do, but still he would always ask that what should I do. So before even letting him ask, Vidur then replies in the next shloka that what should you do. The last slok, what has he told? What has Vidur told Dhritarashtra? That you should leave your house. You should leave. Rajan nirgamyatam shigram. Very quickly, you should leave this province. You should leave this palace. Next, what is now Vidur asking Dhritarashtra to? Pratikriya na yashyeha कुताश्चित करहिचित प्रभु ना एष भगवान काल सर्वेशम न समागतः. Now this frightful situation that has come upon you, no, there is no remedy that any person can give in this world. Nobody. Why? Because Kal, what is Kal? Sarvesham na samagata sa esha Bhagavan Kalah. Kal is equivalent to the supreme personality of Godhead. It's not that it is only impacting me, or it is only impacting you, or somebody in particular. Kal embraces everyone. This is the third aspect of time. This is the third aspect of Kal. What was the first one? That it is avigyat. The second one, that it creates fear, bhai. What is the third one? That it is equal for everyone, it embraces everyone, and you cannot go against it. uh, Pratikar, it is very hard to go against the impacts of time. Pratikriya na yasyeha, there is no way that you can go against the nature, that you can go against the time. So Chanakya Pandit also, what does he say? That a moment lost is equal to what? A moment lost is equal to losing everything. Even after giving millions and millions of gold coins, millions and millions of money, you cannot get that one moment back. So it is only by choice, it is only by taking the right decisions that we understand, that we know where I am spending that one moment of my life. So it is only by choice that all of you would have, decided to come here and not maybe do anything else. It is only by choice that we spend a weekend at the temple or spend a weekend at a club. It is only by choice that every second of our lives is shaped in a certain way. So these choices, they determine our life. These choices, they determine our life. So further, when we see what is Vidur telling Dhritarashtra, now, what all instruction is Vidur trying to give Dhritarashtra? First of all, Vidur told Dhritarashtra that you where you are living and how you are living is something a blind person, somewhere how a blind person lives, not just physically blind but spiritually blind, because of your attachments, because of your moha, your griheshu, param griheshu asakta nam, because of your asakti to your household, you've been blinded. And this kind of blindness is not letting you live in the way you should be living. This is the first thing that Vidur tells Dhritarashtra, and he tells him that this power of time, this energy called time, has entered in your life, and it is impacting you in ways that you are unable to understand. That you are unable to understand. Avigyata nam. So, and what is that? That how is the nature of that energy? Kalah paramadushtaraha. It is impossible. It is impossible to decode. It is impossible to overcome this power of time. So that is what first thing that Vidur told Dhritarashtra. Further, he tells him that even though you might have been the greatest of kings, you might have been the greatest of warriors in your young age and even now, but still the nature of Kal is such that it creates bhai, creates fear in the heart of all. If we do not pay attention to what we are doing, if we do not pay attention to how our life is passing by, then it creates bhai. So we remain very very excited to live a life. We remain very excited to enter the various phases of our life and achieve various milestones in our lives. But as we move ahead, as we achieve those milestones, and as we enter those big phases of our life, getting into a college, getting into a university, and then getting married, having kids, all of these milestones that we as we achieve, we are very excited. But what what is that one essential thing which is actually required before we enter these phases or before we achieve these milestones? Is planning, is to make the right choices. A life which is unplanned, a life which is unknown and just passing by, just flowing, is a life wasted, is a life wasted, isn't it? So that's what Vidur is trying to tell Dhritarashtra. The next thing that Vidur tells Dhritarashtra is also that time is something which is equivalent to Bhagwan, equivalent to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hence, nobody can do pratikar, nobody can go against it. If you try to fight back time, you cannot fight against time. You cannot fight against time. Now, the last and the fourth thing that Vidu tells Dhritarashtra about time is yena chaiva abhiyapanno ayam prane priyatame rapi jnana sadyo viyujyetya kim utanye dhanabhiti. What is he saying? That whoever is under the influence of the supreme time, of the supreme kala, must surrender his most dear life, and not just wealth, honor, children, land, or fame. He should surrender his entire life to this Kal. So basically, Vidur is telling Dhritarashtra that Kal slowly takes away all of these things. What all things? It takes away your wealth, it takes away your honor, it takes away your children, your land, your home, all the things that you've been attached to, all the things that you've been proudly calling mine, my children, my wealth, my honor, my land, my home. All of these things that you've been proudly calling your own will finally being taken away by finally being taken away by time. To make him understand more, he further says, Pitra Bhratir Surit Putra. What all is taken? Your father, your brother, your well wishers, your son, they are all Hataste Vigatam Vayam. They are all dead and passed away by now. Atma cha Jaraya Grista Param Geham Upashashe. You yourself have expended the major portion of your life. Your body is now overtaken by invalidity, and you're living in the home of another. To instigate him to leave the home and to start his journey for abroad, what does Vidur say? You are living in the home of another. And who is this another? Not just anyone. You are living in the home of someone who is the killer of your own, who is the killer of your own sons. And who killed Kauravas? It was Bhim actually who killed the Kauravas. So he's saying you've become blinded. You've become blinded. Finally, he's telling Vidur, Andha purave vadhiro manda pragyascha samarpatam vishishno dando madagni saragah kapam udvaham. So you've been blind from your very birth, and you become hard of hearing also because of old age. Your memory is now shortened and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth have gone loose and your liver is defective and you are coughing up mucus. Now Vidur is trying to show him a mirror. So who can show somebody a mirror? Who himself has seen a mirror. So Vidur is somebody who knows everything about time, who knows these aspects about old age, about attachments, and that is why he's showing his brother this mirror, and he's telling him that now your whole personality is what? You were already blind by birth. Now you become hard of hearing also. Your memory is also now very short. Your intelligence is also disturbed. You cannot differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. Your teeth are loose, your liver is defective, and you are now just coughing up mucus. There is nothing left in your body that you are so attached to. So alas, how powerful are the hopes of a living being to continue his life. Aho mahishyasi jantor जीवितासत यथा भवान भीम pavarjitam pindam adate grihapalavad. What is he now trying to say? Because Bhim was the one who killed the sons of Dhritarashtra, he's saying, Bhima pavarjitam pindam. Verily, you are living just like a household dog and are eating remnants of food given by Bhim. He is taking the name of Bhim. Why? Because Bhim was the one who killed the sons of Dhritarashtra. So you have now stooped to a level that, despite of knowing everything, you are living in the palace of the killers of your son, and you are just like a household dog. You are eating from the remnants of the killers of your son. So Vidur is trying to instigate uh, Dhritarashtra so that he finally steps out of this palace and starts his journey north, and starts his journey to free himself from these attachments that he's been under. Right? Thank you very much, Mataji, for displaying the shloka. So every time when we talk about time, every time when we talk about kal, so these four aspects. So we started to read from this is 23rd verse. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 13th chapter, 23rd verse. We started to read from the 10th verse. So you all can go back and start reading from the 10th verse. And it's such an amazing and eye-opening conversation, because it's not just for Dhritarashtra. It is not just for him. It is actually for us. It is actually for us as well. Why? Because we are also the ones who are blinded by our attachments, and because of these attachments we are unable to feel the impact of kala in our life. Kala parama dushtaraha. So we are unable to see that kala is avigyat, the first aspect of time. The the way which in which we are leading our lives, the way which we are the way in which we are so merrily just letting the time pass without any planning. So Kal has created this bhayam in our lives, and this is the second aspect of Kal. And this bhai has then led to nothing but pratikar. Nobody can go against the spangs of time. So this third aspect of Kal, that it embraces everyone. And the final and the fourth aspect of time that Vidur talks about to Dhritarashtra is that it takes away everything. It takes away everything. And in this case, Vidur is telling Dhritarashtra how his Pitri, Bhratir, Surit Putra, all of his father, brother, well-wishers, they have been killed over the time, but you are still not able to perceive it. You are still not able to understand it. So when we talk about now what should we do, we now that we've known that now that we've come to know that time is something that we can't go against. Time is something that is taking each and every second of our lives, and we cannot do anything about it. It is very powerful, and most of us, many of us here, would have already known all of these things. So what should we do now? What is the next thing that we know? So there are a few sutras of time that our scriptures they give us, and the first of which is so these sutras, they help us how to actually uh, deal with the power of time. So this the first of these sutras is that it's not about having time, it's about making time. So many of you, whenever you would go out preaching, or you would go out, you would tell anyone to attend a class or attend a session or come visit the temple, come attend the Janmashtami event or anything of that sort. Many of your friends or family or relatives would reply that, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time. You would just tell them, why don't you read just one verse every day? Why don't you read just make 1 hour in a week and just attend this session? No, I really don't have time, I'm so pressed with work. So what does the scriptures tell us? That it's never about having time, it's about making time. So whenever we tell somebody that I don't have time, it's indirectly that we're telling someone that it's not important for me. It's actually not important for me. If you tell somebody that I don't think I have time to go out with you for shopping, so what you're actually trying to tell them, no, I don't think it's important. So anything that you tell anyone or yourself, that I don't have time for this, I don't have time to go for a walk, or to exercise, or to read a verse or anything, then what you're indirectly telling yourself for that person, that it's not important, it's not important. So we have seen the greatest of the great people in the scriptures, Arjun. Did he have time? Did he have time to hear the entire Bhagavad Gita? He was in the middle of a war, and the war of the greatest of the times, and standing on the battlefield. Did he actually have time to reflect, pause and reflect and see, should he be doing this or should he be not doing this? Did he have time to analyze? No, he actually did not have any time to analyze. At that point of time, he should have just started the war. But he actually paused, and he took out that time to reflect and to actually analyze, what is he doing? Is what he's doing, is it actually uh, the right thing to do? Is it avoidable? He did all of that in the middle of a war. I'm sure that we are not in the middle of such wars at any point of our lives, thankfully, and we are not as busy as Arjun was in the battlefield. Similarly, did Parikshit have time? The Parikshit was given just 7 days to before he left this planet, and had we been given such 7 days, we would have gone head over heels and all over the place. Oh my God, what should I do? Whom should I meet? Whom should I talk to? What all, balancing our finances, balancing our lands and whatnot. So Parikshit did not have time, but what he did was he made time. He made time for the right thing that was supposed to be done at that point of thing. So had he have not utilized those 7 days, We would not have been discussing what we just discussed. Had he have not utilized those 7 days in the right way, had you have not asked the right questions, he would not have received the right answers from Shukadev Goswami. So, right, time is all about the making, making of time. So similarly, the second sutra that the scriptures, the shastras, they give us that only if one utilizes time, only if we utilize time, then time expands. We just read that time is kal. If we don't respect time, then time, we will never have time. Every moment we utilize, Krishna, he blesses you, or he rewards you with more time. Where you will see that the moment you start waking up early, the moment you start starting your day a little earlier than the others, then you will realize that you suddenly your day becomes longer. Your day becomes longer, you can do more, you can achieve more, and kal is not impacting you anymore. Because then again we read in the second canto as well, ayu harati vai pumsa udyan ashtam cha yanchahan tasyarte sa yat kashnonita uttama shloka vartaya. Whoever is utilizing the time in what? In Uttam Shloka Vartaya, in the discussion of Uttam Shloka, what happens? What happens? Nothing happens to that person. Nothing happens to that person. Otherwise, what is happening to an ordinary being? Ayu Harati Vaipumsa. Both by rising and by the setting of the sun, a person's ayu, a person's age is getting harati. हरण हो रहा है, उसकी आयु का, इसकी एज का हरण हो रहा है, उसके समय का हरण हो रहा है. Taking away, time is taking away everything slowly, and it is imperceptible. We are not able to perceive it also. So the moment we start utilizing every moment, and what will happen? Time will suddenly expand. Why will Krishna give you time to read Bhagavatam? Why will Krishna give you time to associate more with devotees or perform the services that you want to perform, if you don't utilize the current amount of time that you right now have? No, Krishna will not give you more time. But if you actually utilize the time that you currently have, Krishna will make time for you, because he is Kal. He is Kal. Moving forward, the third sutra of time is that when our desire deepens, our capacity increases. When our desire to do something deepens, our capacity also increases. So it is often said that the greatest alarm clock of all times is what? Purpose. You put any alarm, any number of alarms. We start by uh, putting our alarms in the night. 4 o'clock, 4:15, 4:30, 4:45, 5 o'clock, any number of alarms that we put, but the greatest alarm of all times is purpose. But there would be one day when you know that I have to get wake up on time, I have an exam to appear for, or xyz, anything that you have to appear for, and there is nothing else that you can do, you are irreplaceable at that moment. Then what will happen? You automatically will wake up. You will not even be able to sleep in the night. Kids, when they have picnic to attend in the morning, the next day to school, they are not able to sleep in the night, due to excitement. So such is purpose. So these things, if we try to apply in our lives, will we able to overcome time? No. It's very powerful. It's avigyat, but definitely then it will not create bhai. The what we are trying to refute here is not time. We are not going to go against time, but what we are trying here to understand is that we need to become not fearful. We need to become fearless in the hands of time. Why? Because we are the devotees of the Lord. If our ayu is also getting harat, our ayu is also getting taken away by the time, then how can we call ourselves the devotees of the Lord? The devotees of the Lord are such who are always involved in Uttama Shloka Vartaya. And before the rising of the sun, if we complete maybe 80% of our spiritual activities, automatically our day is set. Our day is automatically set. Then we don't need to worry about, oh my god, my 16 rounds, oh my god, my reading of shastras, oh my god, my hearing Krishna katha. It's all sorted by itself. It's all sorted by itself. Even Bhagwan Shri Ram, when he was on this planet, he would make sure that he rises before the sun. And this was a principle of his life, that the Surya, I should have darshan. I should be ready to welcome Surya Dev before he rises up, before I see him. It should not be the other way around, that Surya Dev is waiting for me to rise up. So similarly, such small things, if we try to apply in our lives, our life change upside down. So I'll pause here for anything, for anyone to add, for anyone to share, or anything to ask. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, then with Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Mata.
so much.
The very, very powerful class. I feel like it was very motivating, and the sutras of time were just so like to the point and went straight to the heart. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Before we move on to questions, would you mind if I quickly just share the events for the upcoming
Sure,
events?
sure. Please
Thank
go ahead.
you. So, this is our ISKCON Bergen website, and we have many, many upcoming events. Um, Everything is updated here. As we know, today we had a beautiful class by Mataji. Next week, same time, same place, we will also have another class which will be updated here. This Sunday, September 14th, we have our annual Jagannath Rath Yatra Festival. And note, there will be a change of time. It'll be starting 3:30 p.m. onwards instead of 4:30. So that's this Sunday. The following Saturday, we have our Radhesham Mellows, and the 14th, we also have our Sunday school registration due, which will be commencing the 21st. Um, Weekly Bhakti Rikshas we have every Friday. Please sign up if you have not yet. Bhagavad Gita readings 12 p.m. to 12:15 every weekday. Daily morning japa 6 to 8 a.m. And our ISKCON Vaishnav calendar is also on our ISKCON Bergen website. So feel free to check out our website for more details on that. All classes are also updated here, so you can reference this class whenever you'd like. So those are the upcoming festivals. And at this point, if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand. You can put it in the chat box, however you're feeling comfortable. But we'd love to have some questions.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I like those sutras at the end, and I like to have. You didn't write the reference or tell the reference where it came from. You did
Actually,
mention chapter. You did
yes,
mention chapter 2 or something, but if you
sure,
gave
Prabhu.
exact verses, that would be good to reference.
Right. So I can tell the verses that we were referring to in the conversation between Vidur and Dhritarashtra. I think Mataji has already mentioned. It's Canto 1, Chapter 13, Dhritarashtra quits home. It starts from verse 10. But the sutras that we discussed in the end, they're actually not from any particular verse or any shloka as such. They are just a compilation. And I have heard from some acharyas and some great speakers, and I've just compiled them and presented here. So they're not really from any shastra or any verse particularly.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Mataji, beautiful class. There was a lot of very important life lessons the way you described the time. I was You pretty much covered a lot of things from wide array of areas. There was a verse you referred, I Bharati by Pumsam. So there, just have a question that um, so as we are devoting more time with the Krishna conscious activities, um, how does it translate into like you're not aging that time? I understand that as if like this verse is saying that the time is spent with Krishna is not the part of your life is spent here in material world. So
Right. I understand what the question that you are putting up, Prabhuji, that how as devotees we are really utilizing our time and we don't come under the this impact of the sun impacting our ayu. So definitely, Prabhuji, first of all, Krishna is himself declaring here that one who is involved in the activities of the Lord, Uttam Shloka Vartaya, be it reading, be it hearing, be it speaking of the Uttam Shloka, that is Bhagavatam, uh, those people, they cannot come under the bracket of Ayu Haran. Their Ayu cannot be, their age cannot be taken away by sun or by anything for that matter. So if the Lord is himself declaring it, then we need to be carefree. That is one thing for sure. Plus if we logically talk about it, then whenever a moment is utilized in time, then that moment is not counted as a moment wasted. It is counted as a moment made, as time made. So whenever we are utilizing the time in any constructive way, or whenever we are utilizing time in any positive way, and the most constructive way is definitely uttam shloka vartaya. So whenever we are utilizing the time in this way, what happens is that time is getting constructed on its own. That's what we discussed in the second sutra also, that if you utilize time, then the time expands, because time is Kal himself. So when we are not working for the body, we are working for the soul. Krishna himself says in the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita that na jayate na mriyate va kadachin. So there is no death, there is nothing for the soul. So we are not working for the body, we're working for the soul. And we all know that we're not this body, we are the soul. So that's why I think ayu cannot be taken away for such devotees. Thank you for the question, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. That was a very nice answer. Anyone else? Any other questions? Any realizations?
sorry, mother, my battery went down and computer shut down.
No problem, Prabhuji.
I probably missed your last 30 seconds in there. Um,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
was just saying that how we are not this body, we are the soul, and in being resonant with our eternal identity, if we utilize the time not for the body and for the soul, we what we do is actually we are going by the instructions of the Lord. Na jayate na mriyate va kadachin. So that's how time is getting made for those who are utilizing their time for not the body but for the soul. So that's what we just discussed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other questions? Falling one, going twice.
I just
Hare
want to add
Krishna.
some comment here. Oh, somebody's speaking.
That's okay, Prabhu. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Such a beautiful class about the time you mentioned. Mataji, my question is that, like, sometime we speak, right? And sometimes we speak in a way which is not good, and after that we realize, oh, we said this thing that was not right. uh, mm, um, But how can we relate with this time? Yeah. Can you please tell, and what is the best way if that happens? Uh, mm, so what should we do? And we should not repeat it again.
Right. So definitely, Rupa Goswami also, when he talks about Vegas, the six forces of the life of our bodies, then the first Veg is Vachu Vegam, and this the Veg of our Vani, the Veg of our tongue is such that we are unable to control it. That's absolutely correct. And also we've heard and read that the words that come out of our mouth are like arrows. Once they are left, we cannot just take them back, no matter whatever we do, how much apologetic we might become, but nothing can take it back. So that is why it is recommended, it is advised by greatest of the acharyas, Gaudiya acharyas and acharyas all over the world, that Vani is something that must be very, very carefully utilized. Vani is something that must be very, very carefully, again, like we've been saying, Uttam Shloka Vardya. If Vani is utilized in only in the service of the Lord, Uttam Shloka, then definitely such lost arrows will not harm anyone. They will only be utilized in the best of the way. So what we do wrong in the past cannot be corrected, definitely. But time is something which is presenting us with gifts every second. And if we utilize utilize the time in such way that our vani is also utilized in the right way, then definitely no harm can be done. So it's definitely not easy, it's definitely very, very difficult to control. But if we practice in the way our acharyas have recommended, the way in Rupa Goswami has recommended, then definitely I think we can do it. And the best way to do it is by being in the association of such great people, of such people who have achieved uh, you know such kind of control over their Vani. So I was hearing somewhere that for 12 years, if you, again, it will sound like quite a lot of austerity, but for 12 years, if in the month of Kartik, you wake up every day for at 5 a.m. and do your daily spiritual duties, then your Vani becomes such that whatever you speak, it becomes true. uh, you would have heard of this term called Vakasiddhi. So Vakasiddhi is something that if I tell Anang Mohini Mataji right now, Mataji, you must go to the temple every day for Mangalarti. So if I would have achieved Vakasiddhi, whatever comes out of my mouth, the person whom am I talking to, definitely that person will hear. Definitely that person will follow me. So that is Vakasiddhi. So such kind of strength, such kind of power in our senses is achieved by tapodivyam, some kind of divine austerities that we perform. So Srila Prabhupada also once, when in the initial years, when he took his initial disciples to Vrindavan in the month of Kartik, he found out that it was 5:30 a.m. and some of his disciples were still asleep. So he called his servant and he asked of those disciples, and he said, Prabhupada, they're sleeping. And Prabhupada was shocked beyond belief. He was shocked like anything. He's saying, in the month of Kartik, in the land of Vrindavan, at 5:30 a.m., how is somebody even thinking of sleeping? How is somebody sleeping? So this was just beyond his understanding and beyond his contemplation. So that's what we need to do. It's not easy. Being inaustere is the easiest thing to do. We can just say anything to anyone at any point of time, and it's very easy, it's not difficult. So the greatest austerity is to control. the greatest austerity. The first austerity the Bhagavad Gita also talks about is the austerity of the senses, the controlling of the senses. That is the start and the beginning of our spiritual lives. So I think if we practice it, it will not come very soon, it will not come very easily, but it will definitely come. So practice is something that we must do. Thank you for the question, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Radhaji. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no more final questions, we can then call it a night. Thank you again, Mataji. That was a very, very beautiful class, very practical and very enlightening for us. Thank you, Mataji. And we'd love to have you again on this forum with us.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, everyone, for having me and to giving me your time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You. Thank you all again for joining and hope to see you same time, same place next week. But before we leave, we can just all unmute and say a loud Hari Bol for Mataji.
Haribol.
Haribo. Thank you. Nice class. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, everybody. All goes to the Prabhupada, all goes to Guru Maharaj. Vansha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you. All glories to you all.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.